Hi, this is Steve Trovato, and welcome to this DVD in the style of Albert Lee and other country pickers. Today what I'm going to do is play 3 complete solos for you. And then because these solos in this style is fairly tricky from a right hand and a left hand point of view, I'm going to take each lick of each solo and break it down slowly, both hands for you. So without further ado, let's get on with it. Okay, so here we go then. Track number 1 is entitled General Lee. It's a country blues shuffle in the key of A, a 12-bar blues with a 4-bar intro in the front of it. Let's break this first lick down now, okay? One of the things I've admired about Albert's playing over the years is his ability to stay in the pocket and in the groove while he's playing, even at slower tempos. And also, his ability to mix and match major and minor pentatonics at the same time by using chromaticism. This first lick is a great example of that. So let's break it down and show you how he does that. We're going to play this in the key of A at the 5th position. As a matter of fact, the first lick is in the key of A. It's over an A chord. And we're going to do this. We're going to start by barring across the top 2 strings at the 5th fret with our first finger. Then you're going to take your 3rd finger and you're going to bend a D up to E while supporting it with your 2nd finger to make sure you get it in tune. And then you're going to play the 2 top strings using alternating picking. And do that twice. Then you play from the 8th fret of the 2nd string down to the 5th fret of the 2nd string using your pinky and 1st finger. Okay, let's try that together. Here's what it sounds like with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now let's move on. The next move is this. Also in the 5th position, you're going to bend a D up to E at the 7th fret of the 3rd string, and then play an E unison against it. And then go back, release the bend, pull it back down to D, and then C, and then A on the 4th string, 7th fret. So it sounds like this. And here's what it sounds like with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now we're going to start using this major pentatonic scale that I talked about against the minor pentatonic scale. So what he's going to do now is take a C note, which I already have with my 1st finger at the 3rd string, 5th fret, bend it just a little bit and hit it, and then A with your 3rd finger. Now, here's the trick. This is the big note. I call it the voodoo note. F sharp rather than G, which is out of the major pentatonic scale versus the blues scale. And then he immediately goes right back to the blues scale. So now watch what happens there. C, A to F sharp, and then E with your pinky. And then A to G. Now use the chromaticism of the blues scale on the 5th string by playing E down to D chromatically. And then open A, and chromatically back up from B to C sharp. And then E to F sharp on the 4th string, now in the 2nd position though. and then A on the third string. Now let's play that part of the lick with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to play the entire lick slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's take lick 2 apart now. And here's what it sounds like as a reminder. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what Albert does for this one, first of all, this is played over a D9 now. It's the 4 chord of the blues. So now you don't really want to have a C sharp in there because that's the major third. You want to make it sound like it's being played over the 4 chord, so you need a C natural in there. So one of his tricks that he does is this. He'll play the C natural, but first he'll keep the A going on the 4th string. And then what he'll do is he'll reach all the way back here with his first finger rather, and play B. And then he pulls off to open G. And then play again. So the open G I'm playing with my middle finger of my right hand. And I'm going back and forth if you want to check my right hand out for a minute here. A, and then pick and then pull off. And then back to my left hand. After he pulls off from the B, back to the A, then he does the same thing, but he raises his index finger to the C note. And he alternates between the two. So you have this sound, and I'll play it slowly with the count off for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you do that 4 times. Okay? Then you continue by taking your second finger with your second finger, you're going to slide from C natural to C sharp. Okay? And that's getting back to A, so we can now use the major third of the chord. And then you bar across the 5th fret, strings 2 and 1. Play them, and then with your third finger, bend a G on the 2nd string up to A by supporting it with your 2nd finger. And then you play another unison A on the 1st string. And then you're going to go back to the 3rd string and pull off from E flat to D with your 4th finger to 3rd finger, and then down to C with your 1st finger. Okay, then you're going to play D again, and then E on the 2nd string, and then rock your 1st finger over to C on the 3rd string. Bend it just slightly. One of the things about Albert's playing before I play this entire lick intact is that he rarely plays a note and doesn't do something to it. He'll usually slide into it from a half step below or a diatonic step above, or he'll bend it slightly just to give it a little bit of personality. And I think that's a really important aspect of Albert's playing to note. So here's what this lick sounds like intact with this count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and the last note I played A 3 times. Okay, now we're going to go on to lick number 3. And lick number 3 is played over the 5 chord, or the E7th. And now here's another great example of Albert's style of playing the double stops, the snappy double stops. And the percussiveness in his playing. So this one is going to require what they call hybrid picking. Now hybrid picking, you probably already know, but I play with my pick and I also introduce my middle and third fingers to create as many as 3 notes simultaneously. And now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to play on strings 2 and 3, E and G, respectively. And now I'm going to play them with my fingers of my right hand. And what I'm going to do is I just hit those notes, snap them hard. Now, this is important. You don't hit these strings lightly. You play them hard. Snap it hard. Another thing that I do before I move on here is let me teach you how to pull these strings hard, the right way to play them. Okay, so most people play with their wrist, their hand extended straight out from their wrist. But the problem is, what that does is it puts your fingers at an angle so they're pulling backwards. And what you want to do is you want to give them an angle where they're pulling straight up so you can get more pop. So watch this. I crack my wrist, bend it right here so that my fingers are pulling straight up. And then I can get a lot more snap out of it. So I don't, rather than playing like this, I play like this. And I also keep my fingernails about 1/8 of an inch long, and that's so that I get some nail on there rather than just my fingers. You don't want to just get the meat of your fingers, because when you're playing with a pick and your fingers, your pick has a different attack than your fingers. So if you keep your nails a little bit longer, you get a much more even attack when you're going back and forth between pick and fingers. I also have gotten it down to a place now where I use a pick that's the same thickness as my fingernails to get everything about the same volume. And this is a D'Andrea 96 millimeter pick. Not that that matters, but I thought you might be interested. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the double stop. Double stops are 2 notes played simultaneously. And just hit it and trail it off. But not that far. You don't have to trail way down here. Just trail a little bit, like maybe a fret. And then you're going to go and bar across the 7th fret with your 3rd finger, strings 4, 3, and 2. And then play string 4 with your pick. Play strings 2 and 3 with your middle and ring fingers. I'm sorry, strings 3 and 2 with your middle and ring fingers. And I'm going to play them like that. Then I'm going to go and down to the 4th position and slide into C sharp and E with my 2nd and 1st fingers respectively from a half step below. Also with my fingers of my right hand, not the pick. So I have this sound. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this quarter notes, 3, 4. Then, what I'm going to do now is slide into, we've just played over the 5 chord, now we're at the 4 chord. So I have to play notes that fit the 4 chord. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide into F sharp and C on strings 4 and 3 respectively with my 1st and 2nd fingers. I'm going to slide into them from a half step below. And also snapped with my middle and ring fingers of my right hand. Okay? Then I'm going to play E to D on the 5th string. Now I use my pinky for the E. You don't have to. You can use your 3rd finger if you like. But use your 1st finger decidedly on the D. And then what I'm going to do is slide down my 1st finger to C. Play it, and again, we're going to bend a little bit. Then open A. And now here's where you introduce the major pentatonic again. F sharp on the 6th string. And then E. And that sounds like this. with a count off, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to do this. And that's going to be another double stop, but this time instead of thirds, the interval of thirds, I'm going to play the interval of sixths. And it's a kind of a classic rock and roll lick, but I like it. You start by playing A on the third string with your index finger, and then C on the fifth string with your second finger. And I'm going to play them both using my pick on the fifth string and my middle finger on the third string. And bend just the fifth string, little bit. And then after that, play open A, E, and A on strings 4 and 3 respectively, basically a power chord. So let's go back now and review. Let's remember what I did. Here's what it sounded like. A 1, a 2, 3, 4. Think one more time for good measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's move on to lick number 4. Lick number 4 sounds like this. That was played twice. So here's what we're going to do. This is still an A, and it's the end of the chorus of the first blues chorus. So what we're going to do is play 2 A's with your pick on the open A string. Now you're going to use this, again, we're going to employ double stops and chromaticism simultaneously. So what you're going to do now is play strings 3 and 2 open. And then put your first finger on the first fret of strings 3 and 2 and slide it up to the second fret. But hit it again. So you play the open strings with your fingers, and then the fretted strings again with your fingers, and then slide. Don't pick a third time. So you play the 2 open A's first, and then you hit the open strings and slide up. Then the open A again, and now you're going to play strings 4 and 3 open with your fingers. Again, put your first finger on strings 4 and 3, and now hit them again, and now slide into the second fret. So you're then you're going to play 5th string, 3rd fret, and and then hammer onto the 4th fret. And then strings 4 and 3, barred with your fingers now. Then open A again, and now you're going to put your 4th finger on F sharp against the 2nd fret of the 3rd string A. And play those 2 together with your fingers, and then take off the F sharp and go back to E and A. Now that's a little hard to explain. Let me play it for you a few times, and so you can watch what I do. Here's what the entire lick sounds like intact. I'll do it with a count off and slowly for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's lick number 5, which starts the second chorus of the blues. And for this one, this is one of my favorite tricks that Albert uses. Even though he's playing an A, he's going to start the solo on a G. And what he does is he starts with the G back in the 8th, now we're all the way up to the 8th fret now, on the 2nd string, and then an F natural, which doesn't sound like it would work, but it does, against, on the 3rd string rather. And now what you're going to do is you're going to play the F natural, but you're immediately going to bend it up to G, supporting it again with your 2nd finger. And then you play 3 G notes already fretted. Three times, and then the 4th time you only play 2 Gs at the top. So here's what that sounds like, intact and with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's against that chord. So it gives a really neat dominant 7th or flatted 7th sound right off the bat, which is really lends a bluesy feeling to this whole country sound. Okay, number 6, the reason I put this in there is because it demonstrates Albert's ability to double time, which means play twice as fast against the tempo, and funky chicken picking, and the use of chromatics. And here's what it sounds like. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, let's break this down. Okay, this is based out of an A triad in the 8th position, which is going to be on strings 4, 3, and 2. You're going to play a C sharp on the 4th string by sliding from a half step below into it with your 3rd finger, all with your pick. And then E to F sharp on the 3rd string, and then A on the 2nd string. And the count off would be 1, 2, 3. So the A is actually on the downbeat of the next measure. A 1, 2, 3. Okay? And then back to F sharp on the 3rd string. So the whole lick sounds like this. A 1, 2, 3. Now what happens is you move immediately down to the 7th position by playing a G on the 2nd string. And you know what I would even do? I would do this. I would do it with my finger. I would play the note on the 2nd string with my finger. So the G and the A, both the A and the G will be played with my 2nd finger. And then I'm going to start by chromatically going from E to D on the 3rd string, all with my pick this time. And then I slide my 1st finger down to C. And again, smear it just a little bit or bend it just slightly up. And then on the 4th string, go from A down to G, not chromatically, but just whole step. And then on the 5th string, move from E chromatically down to D. Now this is pretty much using the blues scale, which as you know is the minor pentatonic scale with a flatted 5th, but he's using it chromatically. So starting with an A triad, then he moves immediately down to G, which is also part of the A blues scale. Chromatically, down the blues scale, again down the blues scale to the flatted 3rd, blues scale again, root to flat 7, and then again from E to D, or the blues scale. So let me play that whole lick for you intact and slowly with the count off. A 1, 2, 3. Again, a 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to connect that with lick number 7. Now lick number 7 now goes from using the minor pentatonic to using the major pentatonic. This is, as I said earlier, one of Albert's tricks. So you'll remember from lick number 6 we went, I hope you remember from lick number 6. So what you're going to do is immediately go down to, let me play this lick for you as a reminder first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we're going to start on the 6th string on a B note with our pick and slide up to C sharp at the 9th fret. And then with our 1st and 3rd fingers, you're going to play E to F sharp on the 5th string in the 7th fret, 7th position. And then A on the 4th string, back to F sharp on the 5th string, back to F sharp on the 4th, I'm sorry, back to A on the 4th string. And then immediately place your 3rd finger on the B on the 4th string and slide up to C sharp. And that has no time value, it's just instant slide. In other words, it doesn't have a value of an 8th note or something. So slide it right up to C sharp and then E, F sharp on the 3rd string, and then A on the 2nd. And all with your 1st and 3rd fingers. And here's what it sounds like played intact, slowly, with the count off. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 2, 3, 4. So here we go. Let's combine licks number 6 and 7 because that comprises the entire double time section. And so you get an idea also for weaving between minor pentatonic, as in lick 6, and major pentatonic in lick 7. So I'm going to play it for you as a reminder, then we'll do it slowly. A 1, 2, 3. Now let's do it slowly. A 1, 2, 3. I think one more time for good measure. Okay, here we go. A 1, 2, 3. That ought to wow them at the local club. Okay, here we go. Let's now add lick number 8 to this mix. But what I want to do is, for context reasons, let's play it coming out of lick 6 and 7 so that you understand where it fits. So I'm going to play 6 and 7 and then add 8 on the end of it. Then we'll break 8 down for you. Here we go. A 1, 2, 3. So now watch. We got to the A in lick number 7. We immediately jumped down to G as a quarter note with our 2nd finger. And then I'm going to go down to the 5th fret. And I'm going to play, again, pull off from E flat to D, and then down to C, all on the 3rd string. And then D on the 3rd string, E on the 2nd, and then C on the 3rd, but bend it a little bit, and then 3 times on A on the 4th string. So now I'm going to play it intact, slowly, and with a count off, but we're going to have, the first note is going to be the last note of lick number 7. So it feels right. It's got to feel right. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here we go with lick number 9. Here's what it sounds like as a reminder. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that is a funky lick. This one entails a lot of different ingredients here, so let's first talk about the right hand or the picking hand. This lick takes place on strings 4, 3, and 2. What's going to happen is this. I'm going to play all the notes on the 4th string with my pick, all the notes on the 3rd string with my middle finger, and the notes on the 2nd string with my ring finger, like I'm plucking a chord on consecutive strings. Okay? Now, let's go back to the left hand or the fretting hand. What happens here is I'm playing a chord against a pedal tone of an open string. Now that sounds more complicated than what it is. But the chord is going to be, since we're playing in the key of A, it's going to be an A 7th chord. And it's on strings 4, 3, and 2. And on string 4, you're going to play a C sharp with your pinky at the 11th fret. On string 3, you're going to play an E with your 2nd finger. And on string 2, you're going to play a G with your 1st finger. So that's the chord we're going to play. So then, to play the lick, you're going to play the... This is tricky now, so listen closely. You're going to pick the 4th string with your pick. And then pick strings 3 and 2 with your middle and ring fingers in that snappy way that I taught you early. Now what happens is you have an open G note, so you have to lift your middle finger off the 3rd string and go down and play an open G note with an upstroke of the pick. And then you loop that over and over again. So you start back after the open G with the C sharp again. And it sounds like this, and I'm going to play it this time really slowly, intact, and with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. So make sure when you come up on that open G string, you always play it with an upstroke. And the last ingredient we're going to add to this is the staccato attack to make it sound really chicken picky. So what you're going to do is play everything really short. And when you play it like that, and it's almost like after I hit the note, it's not almost like, what I'm doing is I'm hitting the note and then lifting my fingers off, so I mute the note immediately, so it sounds really staccato. Now, I play that twice, 3 times actually. Then I'm going to shift right from there down to the 5th position and slide on strings 3 and 2 from the 8th fret to the 7th fret with my fingers, using your fingers of your picking hand. And then you're going to roll your 3rd finger across to A, also at the 7th fret, 4th string, and then slide from a half step below into C sharp and E at on strings 3 and 2 respectively. And then lastly, play an A on the 4th string. Now the whole lick played slowly, intact, with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 3, 4. Now here's lick number 10, and this is the final lick of this solo. And here's what it sounds like as a reminder. A 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a long lick, so let's take it slowly. Okay, first thing we need to know is that this is over the 5 chord over the E7th, and it eventually goes to the 4 chord, which, as you know, is a 12-bar blues, back to A. So I'm going to start using the interval of the diatonic sixth, in this case on strings 4 and 2. And this is such a good sounding interval on the guitar, it's been recorded thousands of times. So we're going to play it in the 5th position, and you're going to outline an E triad. So E on the 2nd string with your index finger, 5th fret, and then G sharp on the 4th string with your 2nd finger. And now, let's shift over to the right hand. Here we go. You're going to play the notes on string 4 with your pick, and the notes on string 2 with your middle finger. And you're going to start with the 4th string and play, stagger them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, bop. And you come in on the and of 4 on the G sharp. So actually the E again is the downbeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what you're going to do is you're going to slide up to another 6th interval and play that chromatically all the way up to the 14th fret. Now let me show you what I want. You're going to slide up to, with your 2nd and 3rd fingers, A on the 4th string and F sharp on the 2nd string. Okay, the first note is an F sharp, and you're going to play it using a hammer-on. And then you start the alternating between your pick and your middle fingers of your right hand. And you continue that alternating of fingers by taking that same interval and sliding it up chromatically. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to play string 2, 4, 2, slide 1 fret up and play 4, 2, slide it up again and play 4, 2, and keep going. So we finally wind up back out of an A chord, and we're back to A. So we've gone from E to D, back to A, and we've gotten there very logically. So here's what this one sounds like, slowly, intact, and with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the last note, of course, is just a C sharp. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the remainder of lick number 11 up to tempo as a reminder of what it sounded like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, as you can tell, there's a lot of slinky weaving and chromaticism in this lick. So let's start slowly and do one step at a time. So I'm going to be up here in the 12th position, because remember, we just came out of the first part of lick 11. So when we get up to the C sharp, and then we're going to play. So C sharp is going to be actually the downbeat of the next measure of where we're going to start. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the notes are C sharp on the 14th fret of the 2nd string, and then twice on E, or the 12th fret of the 1st string, and then up to the 14th fret, or F sharp. Then I like to do this bluesy thing, or actually Albert does. And I'm going to go back to C natural on the 2nd string and hit it and pull off to B. That's one of my favorite tricks, is to play. I play the C sharp or the major pentatonic ascending, and then descending I play the minor pentatonic. Kind of gives me a bluesy element to the playing. So here we go. We pull off from the C to the B, and then we play A. on the third string. And then immediately down to G, and then in the same position on string 4 from E to D. Chromatically, though. I'm going to then go from C natural to C sharp on the 4th string, and then go down to A on the 5th string at the 12th fret, and then roll my second, third finger across to E also on the 6th string, 12th position. And then slide down from there to D, and then back from C natural to C sharp on the 6th string, and then finally play A on the 5th string. Now that sounds more complicated than it is, but let me show you what it sounds like slowly, intact, and with a count off. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's play the entire second half of this lick with a count off and intact. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, let's see if you can remember. Go all the way back to lick number 11, and let's play the entire thing. It's a long one, so get ready. Here we go. Nice and slow, intact, and with the count off. A 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you have it then. That's our first solo. 2 entire courses over a 12-bar blues shuffle in the key of A in the style of Albert Lee. I hope you like it. This next section is based on a solo that Albert played on an old Dave Edmunds tune called Sweet Little Lisa. It's a rock and roll tune with a rock and roll attitude, and it features Albert's dazzling use of double stops. Okay, of course this is a rock progression in the key of A. It uses the chords 1, 4, and 5, but they're not necessarily a 12-bar blues. The problem with this song is that the chords change according to the words of the song, which we don't have here. So the way I've designed this solo is I've provided a lick for each chord of the song. So as I'm teaching this, I'll tell you the chord it's happening over first, then I'll teach you the lick. Here we go then. Lick number 1 is this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first thing we see here is that we have a funky double stop, and this is one of Albert's classic tricks. So to do this one, I'm going to start up here in the 7th position, and since we're over the key of A, the chord of A rather, I'm going to be playing an A 7th chord. Now he does this with a B bender. We don't have a B bender, so we're going to emulate the B bender by bending the strings. Just a little sidebar. If you don't know what a B bender is a little device that can be installed mostly on a Telecaster that has a little wheel right here in the B string, hand speed bender goes back to this wheel, which is then connected to a rod that comes over here to the guitar strap. So when you pull the guitar neck downward, it pulls the strap button upward, which then controls the rod, which pulls the B string upward, and it bends the B string up a whole step. It's kind of a tricky device, but we don't need that today. We're going to imitate it by using some standard old guitar bends. So you're going to start by putting your pinky on C sharp on the first string. And then I'm going to put my second finger on G on the second string and support it with my first finger. So I have G and C sharp. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with my right hand, middle and ring fingers. And you're going to pluck them. As I talked about earlier, you're going to tilt your wrist a little bit so that your fingers are pulling straight up to get a lot of pop on those strings. A compressor helps here too. And then you're going to pull the string and you're going to bend the G up to A. And when you get it up there, you're going to play staccato eighth notes. And what you have to do is you have to play the eighth note and then put your fingers back on the string so that it deadens them again. So you get... In other words, you don't want this sound, because then that doesn't sound very country. It needs to sound like a chicken. So here we go. Real staccato. So you go 1 E and 2 E and then you release the bend back to G. So here's that lick at a slow speed, intact, and with the count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's just the first part of it. Again, 3, 4. Here's what we're going to do now. We're going to place our third finger and our second finger on the third and second strings, respectively, at the 9th and 8th frets, E and G, in other words. And you're going to pluck them with your fingers of your right hand. And trail them off. As we talked about earlier, you don't trail them off that far, just maybe a fret. And then you go back and you bar the 7th fret across strings 4, 3, 3, and 2. And you're going to play A on the 4th string with your pick, and then double stops D and F sharp with your middle and ring fingers. So that sounds like... So putting that together with the first half of the lick, we get this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's continue. The rest is single notes. This is the easy part. Starting with the C on the 3rd string, you're going to play it and bend it a little bit. And then play on the 4th string A to G. Then on the 5th string, chromatically from E to D. And then move your first finger down to the 3rd fret to C natural. Play it, then open A, then down to F sharp. And that's interesting too, because that's now out of the major pentatonic scale rather than the blues scale, which is another one of Albert's tendencies, to mix the major pentatonic with the minor pentatonic in one line. Okay, so C to A twice, I'm sorry, and then F sharp, and then to A. So what we have here is the last part of that first lick, and here's what that sounds like, slowly, intact, and with the count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 2, 3, 4. Let's go back and play lick number 1 in its entirety now, slowly, intact, and with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. How about once more for good measure? Here we go. 3, 4. Here's lick number 2. Again, this is the next 4 measures of the song, and we're still over just an A chord. So this can be played over A chord all day long. And here's what it sounds like as a reminder. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, classic double stops. Here's what we're going to do. Using the hybrid picking, which means pick, middle, and ring fingers of your right hand, this lick is going to start with a pre-bend in a 7th position, using the notes D and F sharp with your 3rd and 4th fingers, as you can see. So you're going to bend them slightly, and then you're going to pluck them with your right hand fingers. As you do, release the bend. Then down to the 5th fret, strings 2 and 3 as well, barred. Then down to the 4th string, 7th fret, the A. Then flatten out your 3rd finger and play D and F sharp again. Then back to A, jockeying back and forth. And then bar across the 5th fret, strings 3 and 2. Hammer on to the 6th fret of the 3rd string. And then back down to A on the 4th string. So just that part of lick number 2 sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 3, 4. Here's the second part of lick number 2, played again as a reminder so you can remember what it sounded like. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. With all those double stops. Here's how you're going to play it. You're going to use a pedal tone. And in this case, the pedal tone, or the repeating tone throughout, is an open A string. And you're going to play against that double stops on strings 4 and 3. And in this case, it's going to be F sharp and C respectively, with your 1st and 2nd fingers, as you can see. Then, but you play the pedal tone or A before that. Then you play the pedal tone of A again, but now you flip those double stops over and play G and B. Then you play the pedal tone again of A, and now you play F sharp and B with your 3rd finger, and then down to E and A with your 1st finger. So it sounds like this. 3, 4, 1. So the only one the pedal tone is not between is the last 2. So you have 3, 4, 1. And then we have this. So for this one, you're going to slide with your 3rd finger from the 5th fret to the 4th fret on strings 4 and 3. Down to fret 2 with your 1st finger, also strings 4 and 3. And then C on the 5th string with your 2nd finger, open A. Then the double stops again on strings 4 and 3 at the 2nd fret. Then you're going to play double stops on strings 3 and 2. And here's what they are. B and D, and A and C sharp. Now, a good rule of thumb is this, folks. For the pedal tone, use your pick. For all the other notes, use your middle and ring fingers. That way you get that alternating motion that's so prevalent in that country guitar sound. So you get that kind of up and down chicken picky thing. So let's go back and play the entire lick number 2 intact, slowly, with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was pretty long, so we better do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we've just played 8 bars of A. So now we're on to a D chord. The next lick is going to be in D. And here's what it sounds like, played as a reminder, so you can remember what it sounded like. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that sounds really sleazy and bendy, doesn't it? Okay, well that's again done on a Telecaster with that B bender I was talking about. But since we don't have one, we're emulating it without one. So this is going to be based out of a D chord at the 5th position. D7th, actually. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your pinky on C, on the 1st string. And you're going to bend on the 2nd string a G up to A with your 3rd finger. But you're going to support the bend with your first 3 fingers because it's very imperative that you bend this in tune. You can't be out of tune for this one because it needs to sound mechanical, almost like a pedal steel guitar. So you have to go directly from G to A without hesitation and without faltering and without going out of tune. And ice it up there. What I mean by ice it is when you get up to the top of the bend where it's at A, freeze it. And what I do sometimes to practice bends is I'll actually play the note that I intend to bend to. Okay, so when I play it, then I get it in my head, and when I bend, I have it in my head so I can get up there more easily. And then what you're going to do is you're going to play that C note that you have already fretted with your pinky. Four times, really staccato. And the way I do that is this. I use all upstrokes. And when I finish playing the note, I come right down on it again with my knuckles of my right hand. Or the top of my thumb, either one. I just kind of bounce my right hand so I get that staccato-ness in there. Then I go back and remember I iced or froze that note up at A. Now I have the excuse to bring it down again to its original pitch, which was G. And then finally down to F. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that's kind of a blues lick out of D minor, but it also fits over D major because that's what the blues is, the minor sound played over the major scale. So we have that. Now we have the tricky one. Now this one is also in the 5th position. I'm going to play an F sharp note on the 2nd string with my pinky. Now this one you need to bend with your 1st finger. So there's no chance of supporting your bend with a finger behind it, so you just have to be strong. And not only that, but you have to bend it to pitch before you play it. So you have to bend it from C all the way up to D before you play it. And you kind of have to learn to feel where that is by doing it a lot of times. When I hit it, I'm going to hit the F sharp first, and then hit the bend note, and then let it come down. It's a pre-bend. and let it come down. Relax your first finger and let that bend come down to its original pitch, which was C. And then you play A on the 4th string, and then back to that C and bend it up again, and then play F sharp. So you reverse it. Now, for all of these bends like this, I'm going to explain to you a pedal steel technique called blocking. Now, what blocking is you, as the name implies, really, you block each note after you play it. So when you play the note, you play it, and then go right down with your hand again and mute it. So you bounce your hand. And you can kind of hear, I'm exaggerating it now because I want you to hear what it's supposed to, what it's doing, how it's supposed to make the thing sound. Very percussive and staccato. Mostly the high one is the one I'm blocking. Now, when you put those two licks together, let me show you them again, slowly, intact, and with a count off so you get the feel for the rhythm of these licks. 1, 2, 3, E and 4, E and that's a tricky one. Next lick. This one's back in A. So for this one, here it is played again as a reminder. So you remember what it sounded like. 3, 4. Again. This is one of my favorite one of Albert's. So this one, back to the key of A. So what you're going to do is you're going to play a G at the 3rd fret, 1st string with your pinky. And now you're going to pre-bend a D up to E with your 3rd finger on the 2nd string. But as I always suggest, support that bend with your 1st and 2nd fingers. And you hit that, and you have to get a feel for when it's in tune by just the amount of tension on your fingers and how it feels. And you do that, I guess the only way to do it really is to just do it so many times you get used to the feel in your muscle memory. And you pluck those two notes with your fingers, and you release the bend. And then you play C. And again, that's just like a blues lick up here. But see, up here, it sounds more muted and bassy. Up here, down here, it sounds really twangy, which is what you want for this style, of course. Then you're going to play double stops, A and C sharp on strings 3 and 2. Pluck them with your fingers, and then pull off from A to G on the 3rd string. Then move your fingers down to strings 4 and 3, the notes E and A, and hit them again with your fingers, and pull off from E to D. And then C on the 5th string, bend it a little bit, and then play open A. And here's what that sounds like, intact, slowly, and with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 4, and 4, and. Our next lick, number 5, is played over an E chord. Now first let me play it to give you a reminder of what it sounded like. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now for this one, I'm going to start with a chord triad barred on strings 4, 3, and 2 at the 9th fret, an E triad. And I'm going to play, using hybrid picking again, play strings 3 and 2, and then string 4 with my pick, rock across. And then I'm going to play double stops, F sharp and A on strings 3 and 2 respectively, and then move that chromatically up to G sharp and B at the 12th fret. But now listen, I'm playing that with my right hand fingers, and I'm plucking it very staccato. Then I'm going to flatten my middle finger out and play E and B at the 12th fret. And then go back to my G sharp and B and pluck that and go down chromatically down again to F sharp and A. So I get then I'm going to go back to B on the 4th string, rock across to F sharp and A, and then finally wind up on where I originally started, E and G sharp. Now let me play that again for you, slowly, intact, and with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Three, again, and. For lick number 6, we now go back to A. And here's what lick number 6 sounded like for a reminder. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you can hear how bendy and sleazy this sounds, but it's very mechanical because we're emulating that B bender again. So to do this, here's what we have to do. We're going to be on the 2nd string, bend a B up to C sharp, supporting it with your 2nd finger. And then against that, you're going to play D and then E with your 1st and 4th fingers. Then go back to the 2nd string, release that bend to its original pitch, B, and then play A. And then move down to the 7th position and bend a G up to A on the 2nd string with your 2nd finger, supporting it with your 1st finger. Play C sharp on the 1st string, play the bend again and release it back to its original pitch. And then E on the 3rd string, and then back to G on the 2nd string. Now let's play this lick in its entirety, intact, and with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, for lick number 7, we're going to, again, move up to a D chord. And here's lick number 7 played. I'll play it for you again so you remember what it sounded like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's a little tricky. So what we're going to do is, like the last D chord, it's the same notes, but it's just rhythmically a little bit different. So you're going to start with C on the high E string with your pinky, and you're going to, against that, pre-bend a G up to A. And got it in tune. I do it with my 3rd finger and support it with my 2nd finger always. Hit the G note, release it to its original pitch. In other words, let the bend come down to its original pitch. Then play F at the 6th fret. Then quickly shift down to the 5th position, play F sharp on the 2nd string. Bend that C up to D again with your index finger only. This is the tough one. Release it down to C. Then play A on the 4th string. Then we're going to continue downward. So once you play the A, slide it down to G. Now we're in the 3rd position, and play G to F, and then D on the 5th string. Rock your 3rd finger back down to G, and then play F with your 1st finger, and now pull it up to F sharp. This has a note value. It's an eighth note, da, 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 3 and 4. And then your last note is D, back on the 5th string. So here's what this sounds like, slowly, intact, and with a count off. 3E and 4E and 3E and 4E and 'For lick number 8, we're back to an A chord. And here's what this one sounded like, if you'll remember. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is basically a rock and roll lick in the key of A. We're going to start this lick with a bar at the 5th fret, top 2 strings with your index finger. Play them, and then you're going to pull off on the 3rd string from E flat to D to C. Picked only once. And then you're going to play D, C, A. And then down to G. Then you're going to play E on the 5th string, slide it down to D, a whole step, C natural, and then A on the 6th string twice. So that's that, and here's what it sounds like intact, slowly, and with a count off. 3E and 4E and 4. Lick number 9 is over the chord of E, and it's basically over here in the open position, the blues position, and here's what it sounded like. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you're going to start with hitting the 2 high strings open, double stops. And then you're going to pull off from B flat to A to G on the 3rd string, and then back to A and G on the 3rd string again, and then E to D on the 4th string, and then pull off triplet on the 5th string from B to A, chromatically down, and then G on the 6th string, and then E on the 6th string. And slowly intact and with a count off, here's what that sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 3, 4. For lick number 10, we're back to the chord of A. And here's what this one sounded like. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is a straight walk down an A minor pentatonic scale. So I'm going to start with C on the 3rd string in the 2nd position. Play down to A. Then down from G to E on the 4th string, all 4, 1. And then go back to A and play A, G, E. It's like a sequence. And then D, C, open A on the 5th string. Then I come back and I play from C to A on the 3rd string. And that's the whole lick. Now you might notice with my right hand, I'm playing that top one again with my middle finger, just to get a little more snap out of it. So the whole lick is played with my pick except for the last 2 notes. And that's played with my middle finger of my right hand. So So here's what that one sounds like slowly and with a count off. 3 and 4 and. Again and 4 and. For lick number 11, we're back playing over A again. And for this one, here's what it sounds like. 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you can basically hear it's the same lick with a different last note on it. So here's the way I'm going to play that. Again, watch my right hand. Middle finger on the 3rd string, pick on strings 4 and 5. I'm going to play a C natural in the 5th position on the 3rd string with my middle finger, snap it like that. And then on the 4th string, pull off from A to G, and then down on the 5th string to E. 4 times. And then play a C again. And then the second time, play the same lick back to A on the 4th string. Here's what that one sounds like slowly and with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. For lick number 12, we're playing once again over an E chord. And for this one, I'm going to start in the 2nd position, and you're going to start by bending a D up to E on the 2nd string with your 2nd finger, and of course supporting it with your 1st finger. I think that's always important. And then hit the high G sharp played with your pinky 4 times. Then release the E bent note back down to D. Then B on the 3rd string. Then in another movement, hit B again and slide it down to A. Down to G. And then twice on E on the 4th string. And here's what it sounds like slowly. 3 E and 4 E and Okay, lick number 13 is over an A chord again. And this one, again, uses the pedal tone, as you'll recall, is a note that is interspersed throughout, that is just one note, hence the pedal. And in this one, it's the 5th string open, or A. And here's what this one sounded like as a reminder. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we're going to start by sliding into A and C sharp on strings 3 and 2, using your fingers. Of your right hand. I know your fingers are your left hand. And then you're going to play open A. Then play B and D, open A again, their pedal tone. Up another half step to C and E flat. Up another half step to C sharp and E. A pedal tone again. Then lastly, E and A, barred with your 1st finger at the 5th fret. And then I'm going to play, for the tail, I'm going to play D and F sharp with my 3rd and 4th fingers here at the 7th fret. And I'm going to hit them and bend them back and forth. And here's what this one sounds like slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you have it. That's our 2nd solo in the style of Albert Lee, with a little of Steve Trovato thrown in on top of it. I hope you enjoy it, and remember to practice this one slowly, and make sure to get those bends in tune. Have fun. For section 3, I've decided to do country banjo rolls. And what a banjo roll basically is playing consecutive sets of 3 strings using your pick, middle, and ring fingers, as in, or this sound, familiar sound. So without further ado, let's tackle section 3. So before we start, let me just say that this is a 12-bar country blues, and each lick I play fits over the appropriate chord at the time. So here's lick number 1 then. Here's what it sounded like. 1, 2, 3, 4. The first part of that is a banjo roll, and the way we're going to execute that is from a left hand, we're going to play G on the 4th string, open G on the 3rd string, like you're tuning up, and then D on the 2nd string. And the right hand is going to do this. The pick will play all the notes on the 4th string, the middle finger all the notes on the 3rd string, and the ring finger all the notes on the 2nd string. So here we go. You're going to start with a hammer-on onto the 4th string G from a half step below. Then use your middle finger and play the open G, and then come back to the fretted G. And then a reverse banjo roll starting on the 2nd string, D, open G, fretted G, and then back to D on the 2nd string. And here's what that sounds like slowly. 3 E and 4 E and again, 2, 3, 4. So you're going to do that lick twice. And then you go to lick number 2. Lick number 2 sounds like this. 3, 4. So you're going to start with a G triad in a 3rd position on strings 4, 3, and 2. G, B, and D. You're going to play the 4th string with your pick, then play strings 3 and 2 with your fingers, slide them down a whole step, and then place your 3rd finger on F on the 4th string. And then using your fingers play the strings 2 and 3 open. Then F on the 4th string to D on the 4th string. Then open A with your pick. And then this curious sounding lick. The way you're going to play that is you're going to put your 3rd finger on C sharp on the 5th string, your 2nd finger on F natural on the 4th string, and then play G open. And you're going to pluck strings 5, 4, and 3 with your pick, middle, and ring fingers. Then you take that shape and move it down a half step so that your fingers are now on C and E, and again with the open G. And then you're going to take your first finger, put it on B flat on the 5th string, play that against open D and open G strings, and slide up a half step. Using the plucked motion again. Now, if there's any theory buffs out there, what this really is a 2-5-1 in the key of G. And what I'm doing is playing A7 sharp 5 to D9 to G. So it's but it all fits over G. So let's hear the entire lick number 1 strung together with lick number 2 with a count off, slowly. 1, 2, 3 E and 4 E and Lick number 3 sounds like this. 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 2, 3, 4. Here's how you play it. Start on G, on the 6th string, and then A on the 5th string. With your 2nd finger, play A sharp, and then slide into B. On the 4th string, play D, E, back to D. Now watch what happens. I'm going to start on A on the 3rd string, hit it, and slide up to B flat. And then play open B and open G. It's nice, huh? Then hammer on from D to E on the 4th string, and then end on G on the 3rd string. And here's what it sounds like slowly with a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lick number 4 finishes lick number 3, obviously. And that's what it sounded like. I'll play it again. 3, 4. Now what's happening here is you're going to start with a B flat on the 3rd string. Pull off to A, and then down to G. And play the G. Then you go play E on the 4th string, rock your finger over to A on the 3rd, back to E on the 4th, and then open G on the 3rd. Right. And now slide from A up to B with your 2nd finger on the 3rd string, and then D, E, D on the 2nd string, and then finally G on the 1st string. And here's what that sounds like slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. For lick number 5, we're at the C chord. So the chord now changes to C9, and the lick we're going to play over that sounded like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's based out of a C chord here in the open position. And what I'm going to do is, this is called chicken picking. Now let me teach you how to do that. So you're going to start by bending on the 2nd string a D up to E with your 3rd finger and support it with your 2nd finger. On top, you're going to play a G with your pinky. Now listen to the way the G sounds. Okay, so you get that chicken picking sound. Now, here's the way that's done. What you do is you start by putting the underside of your middle finger on the high G string. Then what you do is you come down with your pick and play it. But all you get is a percussive thump, because you have the string muted with the underside of your middle finger. Then what you do is you snap your middle finger up and get that chicken cluck. And if you do that several times in succession, it sounds like this. And each time you start it again, you have to replace your middle finger on the underside of the string. So now you're gonna go back and bend that D up to E, and then set up your chicken picking string, and then play that taka taka twice. Then bend again, play the chicken picking lick twice. Then go back and release the bend to its original pitch, which was D, and then go down to C. And you play that entire lick twice. And here's what that sounded like. 3, 4. Lick number 6 goes over the G chord. And here's what that one sounded like. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's how to play it. Start with G on the high string, then play E on the high string, then play D on the second string, and B on the second string. And then play open E, and then back to D on the second string. So you have. Then you're going to go down to the third string and play A, slide it up to B flat, and then play open B, open G, and then E to D on the fourth string, and then back to open G. And here's what that sounds like slowly. 3, 4. Again, 3 E and 4 E and. Lick number 7 finishes that phrase and sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this one you need to play with an alternating motion between your pick and your middle fingers of your picking hand. And what you're going to do is you're going to start by sliding your second finger on the third string from B flat to B. Then play D on the second string with your middle finger though. I mean, play it with your first finger, but pluck it with your middle finger. Then come back to B. Then go down 1 fret, down 1 more fret, and play string 2, 1, 2, 1. Then open B, played plucked with your middle finger, and then B flat to A on the third string, down to open G, then E to D on the fourth string, and finally back to G. And here's what that sounds like slowly. 3 E and 4 E. So now let's link licks 6 and 7 together, and let's show you what that sounds like. 3 E and 4 E and. For lick number 8, we're going to play over the D7 chord, and this will be in 2 parts. And here's what the first part sounded like. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now let's take it apart. We're going to start with a pickup from F to E down to D on the 4th string. So we have 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Okay, that's the open D. Then what we're going to do is we're going to grab a D seventh chord and set it up here in the first position. So that's going to be A on the third string, C on the second string, and F sharp on the first string, played using the fingers that you see shown. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put D with your pinky on the second string. And you're going to use our hybrid picking technique on this and play the notes on the third string with your pick, the notes on the second string with your middle finger, and the notes on the first string with your ring finger. Start with the pick, then play the double stops or the D and the F sharp. Back to the A. Then lift your pinky off and play C. And then replace your pinky on the D and play both notes again. And then the same thing, but this time the rhythm is a little bit different. So this time you're going to play the A to the D twice before you go down to the C. Now go down to the C and then back to the D. So the first time's only once. Second time twice. And here's what that sounded like slowly. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And the second part of lick number 8 was like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And once again, we have that chicken picking going on. And let me show you how to do that using 2 strings. So now, let me show you the notes first. We're going to play D and F sharp on strings 3 and 2. Then down a whole step to C and E. Then down to B and D. Then down to A and C. Now, to play it with your right hand, you're going to place the underside of your middle and your ring fingers on the third and second string respectively. So you got them down there. Then you come down with your pick and you pluck the third string. But again, you get just a percussive thump because you have the strings muted. Then what you do is you snap both of your fingers upward and then come down with your pick again on the third string. Then you go down and do the same thing with the next set of double stops, C and E. Then down to the next set of double stops, B and D. Then the next set of double stops, A and C. Then finally G by itself. And here's what that sounded like slowly. 3, 4. Here's lick number 9, played over the last G chord of the progression. Here's what it sounded like. 3, 4. So for this one, we're going to play it all with your pick, and you're going to start with G on the high string, down to F on the high string. So now we're using the pentatonic blues scale. Chromatically down from D to C on the second string, and then open G on the third string. Then you play A on the third string and slide up to B flat. Then open B and open G. Then E to D on the fourth string. Then back to open G. And the last part of it is you're going to play F sharp to G on the 4th string. Don't hammer on. Pick both notes. And then open G. And then do that twice. Actually, 3 times. Well, here we are. We're at the 2nd solo. And lick number 10 will be the first lick of the 2nd solo. Starting on a G again. And here's what that sounded like. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one's going to be played on the strings 4, 3, and 2. Using your hybrid picking technique, you're going to start by playing strings 3 and 2 open with your fingers. And then use your first finger to pull off from F to D. And you're going to play twice and then play the open strings again. And then do that whole thing twice. And here's what that sounds like really slowly. 3, E, and 4, E, and... Lick number 11 completes that phrase, and here's what it sounded like. 3, 4. Again, our hybrid picking technique, we're going to start by playing D and F on strings 3 and 2 with our fingers. Well, of your right hand. Then you play open G. Then go down and play C and E on the strings 2 and 3. Pluck them. Again, pedal an open G in between. And then bar across the 3rd fret, strings 3 and 2. Pluck those 2 notes. Hammer on to B natural from the B flat on the 3rd string. And then play G on the 4th string. And then go back and fret the entire G triad, which is already in place almost, and then play strings 2 and 3, 2 and 3. Slide them down a whole step to A and C, then F on the 4th string, then open G and B, and then F to D, open D, and open strings 3 and 2 again. And here's what that sounds like slowly. 3, E, and 4, E, and... How about one more time? This is a tricky one. 3, E, and 4, E, and... For lick number 11, we're still on the G chord, and here's what that one sounded like. 3, 4. So here's how you play it. Right hand, picking hand, you're going to use the hybrid picking. And what you're going to do is you're first going to hit the open D string and hammer on to F on the 4th string. Then using the fingers of your right hand, pluck strings 3 and 2 open. Then go back and play F with your pick, open strings with your fingers, and F with your pick. Now comes the tricky part. You got to play the open D again, but this time with an upstroke of your pick. And then with a downstroke, go back to F. And now, you're never going to use another hammer-on. It's all picked. Then you start it over again. This time, instead of the hammer-on, you pick both notes. And you just kind of rock that and loop it back and forth. And here's what that one sounds like slowly. 3, E, and 4, E, and... Again, 2, 3, 4. Then you move up to the 7th position, and you're going to play a G major triad here on strings 3, 2, and 1 by barring across the 7th fret, top 3 strings, and adding G on the 2nd string with your 2nd finger. And you're going to play the top 2 strings using the fingers of your right hand, and then pull off from F to D on the 3rd string. Then go down a whole step and play an F triad, pluck the 2 top strings, and now pull off from D to C. Then go down to the 3rd position. Notice how my hand switched from here to here. You're going to play strings 3 and 2 at the 5th fret, and then strings 3 and 2 at the 3rd fret, and then the 4th string G. And here's what that one sounds like slowly. 3 E and 4 E and For lick 12, we're playing over the C chord. And if you'll remember, here's what that sounded like. 3, 4. And you can hear the machine gun-like sound of it because I'm playing constant 16th notes on the G note on the 4th string. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play B flat and D barred at the 3rd fret with my 1st finger, and then go down and play G 3 times, all picked on the 4th string. Then flatten my same 3rd finger out, play those 2 notes, C and E, and then come back and play the G 3 times again, and then do it again. So it's just strict alternate picking. And I'm going to slow it way down for you right now. 3 E and 4 E and Lick number 13 is back on the G chord, and here's what that sounded like. 3, 4. Of course, we'll do it slower. So here's what you're going to do. Again, in the 3rd position, you're just going to play F and hammer onto G on the 4th string. Then you're going to use your fingers of your right hand to pluck the top 2 strings barred at the 3rd fret. And then go back to the G on the 4th string. Then jog back up to the high strings and then down to G. Then you start to lick over again. Then you jog it again, then F to G again, and then finally end on the top 2. So the whole lick sounds like this. 3, 4. And you do it a few times here. Okay, so you're going to play that entire lick twice, and here's what it sounds like very, very slowly. 3 E and 4 E and again. Lick number 14 is over the D 7th chord or the 5 chord of the blues. And here's what it sounded like. 3, 4. Now, breaking that down, we move all the way up here to the 7th position, and we're going to base it out of the D chord here. And here's what's going to happen. Play D and pull off to B on the high string. and then pull off from A to F sharp on the second string. Actually, no, play both notes, don't pull them off. And then back to B on the high string. Now what you're going to do is you're going to slide from E to F on the third string, and then F sharp to D. On strings 2 and 3. And then B to A on string 4. And then back to the third string, D. And here's what that sounds like very slowly. 3 E and 4 E and And lick 15 will complete that phrase, the D7th chord. And that's going to be descending thirds. And we're going to start here in the 10th position playing F sharp and A, then down a whole step to E and G, then down to D and F sharp, chromatically down one step, one fret, and then down finally to C and E. And I'm going to play them with my fingers. Pluck them with my fingers. Now let me play those two licks together so we hear the complete phrase. Here we go. 3 E and 4 E and And lick 16 will complete the second solo. And it is, of course, played over a G chord. Here's what it sounded like. 3, 4. And this is one of Albert's trademarks, too, where he takes the diatonic thirds and walks them down. Here's how you play it. We're going to base it out of a G chord in the 7th position. And you're going to start by playing chromatically from D to C on the high E string, using fingers 4, 3, and 2. And then I reach back with my first finger to the 6th fret, hit it, and slide into B. And then I play G on the 2nd string, and then E to D on the 3rd string. Now, here's the trick. When I get down to the D, I immediately slide down to D flat. Then I play B flat on the 4th string, down another whole step to C and A, then down to B and G, and then E to D on the 5th string. And finally finish on G on the 4th string. And then play the last part of the lick, which is A sharp B on the 4th string, D, E, D on the 3rd, and then G on the 2nd. And here's what that sounds like slowly. 3, 4. And that completes our second chorus of the Albert Lee style country blues. Be sure to practice slowly because a lot of these licks are tricky, and be sure and have some fun. I'll see you later.